Hello everyone, Chaos here, and welcome to another old school RuneScape video. In the previous one, we went over 25 monsters you can kill for decent loot, from low level all the way up to endgame beasts for some juicy drops. Today, we are taking things to the next level, as we will do the same thing for bosses as we wrap up the PVM month. If you Scapers enjoyed this video, a subscription with notifications on would be greatly appreciated, and you can join our Discord server to interact with me and our amazing community. And if you like some of the bosses you see in today's video and you are looking for either coaching or a team, it is a perfect place to get started on your PVM journey. Just like pretty much all my videos, I have a few important disclaimers for you guys to establish a few ground rules. Number one, I will divide this video in three categories. Bosses who drop consistent GP, bosses whose GP per hour mostly relies on unique drops, and finally, bosses that are either too dangerous or too useless to camp consistently unless you are looking for a specific drop. Number two, I will not be taking supplies into account, and what you see on screen will be the raw GP output you can expect on average. Number three, as always, I tested this on my maxed account with fairly high level gear, although not best in slot for every single style, and depending on your levels and items, you may get different results. And finally, for number four, for the graphics you see on screen, the kills and GP per hour is what I got out of my testing, and I will not be taking uniques into account. Also, before we start, I will talk about each boss relatively quickly because, again, there's a lot to go over. Let's not waste any more time and dive right in. Let's begin. We start with one of my favorite Slayer tasks because it just goes by so quick since you're killing multiple bosses at once, being the Dagonoth Kings. Once you can kill them individually and the rotation is set up, camping them is incredibly easy as you are hunting for those Berserker and Archer's rings. The interesting part about these bosses is that most of their valuable drops will come from noted Dagonoth bones, as a lot of the loot isn't really game-changing. And speaking of noted bones, if you are going to camp these long-term, get that elite Fremennik diary done for those noted Dagonoth bones. Up next we have my favorite way to get elite clue scrolls, which are the Barrows brothers. Not only do you have a 1 in 33 chance of getting it while defeating all 6 brothers, but when opening the chest you can also get some fairly nice drops like Carols, Arims, Daroks, or even some Gothan pieces. Just like the previous one, the achievement diaries play a big role here, and I recommend doing the Hard Mauritania diary before camping them long term for even more runes out of the chest. Also, let me flex the fact that this one is part of the collection log that's completed at 1111 KC. I kinda have a love-hate relationship with the Abyssal Sire, because when I have an Abyssal Demon Slayer task, part of me kinda wants to do it for that Unsired and see what I can get out of the Abyssal Lottery. Other days though, I much rather go to the Catacombs of Korenda to AFK them. I was using a mage setup for the respiratory system and my Arclight and the Dragon Claws for the actual fight, giving me about 20 kills per hour along with a decent 840k GP per hour. For this, I was also using the POH method where you dump your Dragon Claw special at the end of the kill to make it much faster. So a pool of restoration is very much appreciated. A boss I started to get into recently are the Grotesque Guardians. Like I said in the boss mechanics video, I cannot say enough good about this place as it will teach you so much and the kills are very engaging. With my setup, I was landing about 24 kills per hour along with 955k GP in the same amount of time, and sadly I still have 0 uniques and 100 kills, but on a positive note, I didn't have any extra loot to alter the numbers. Also, a great thing about them is that they drop Mushroom Potato, Ceradum and Bruise, and even some Prayer Potions to extend your trips if you follow the mechanics perfectly. Oddly enough, Sarachnis comes next, and even without an ideal setup, I got about 40 kills per hour, which equal to around 1 mil GP. I was using my Rapier and the Avernic Defender, but if you want to speed up your kills, a Crush weapon should work a lot better. If you're a rich boy or a girl, you can take your Scythe and Inquisitor's Mace, or even a Bludgeon to crush the spider way faster. If you're really lazy though, the Justiciar and Din's Bulwark method should do okay, but you will still need to click very often. Maybe I got really lucky with the drops, who knows, but this one goes here at 1 mil GP per hour. Another love-hate relationship I have is with Cerberus. The reason for this is because I can only get about 7 or 8 kills per trip, which feels kind of slow, but it dies relatively quickly with the Arclight, which was why I was able to land about 48 kills per hour with about 1.1 mil GP to go along with it. During my kills, I got a nice Pegation Crystal, and for some odd reason, this is a boss where I have pretty decent log with 4 Primordial Crystals in my 579 kills, which back then I sold for a whopping 32 million GP. Also amazing boss to camp since the pet is obviously a puppy, and dogs are the superior house pet. Cat owners, you can fight me about it. The Corrupted Gauntlet is not the best moneymaker without taking uniques into account, but it's fairly consistent with the chest loot. If you camp it long term, you will get to a point where you can do about 6 runs per hour or even more, granting you an average of 1.3 million GP as of the time of making this video. With more kills comes more experience, and once you can do the gauntlet on command, not only will you be making tons of cash, but your PVM abilities will skyrocket for high-level PVM like raids or even the Inferno. So get grinding this amazing boss to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and again, I just have to flex the fact that I got an enhanced crystal weapon seed at 31 KC. Sorry to all Iron Men out there, it just happened. The Kalphite Queen doesn't have any super expensive items, since both the Dragon Chain Body and the Dragon 2H Sword are heavily outdated nowadays, but her normal loot is pretty okay compared to other bosses. The only negative thing about her is that it hits constant 30s, and you will go through sharks a lot faster than normal. With a Charis Partisan and Blowpipe, I got to 25 kills in 1 hour, translating to 1.6 mil GP. And in those 25 kills, I saw a nice jar of sand, which was an extra 650k, not added to the total that you're seeing on screen. For some odd reason, 66 giant mole kills in 1 hour gave me about 1.7 mil, after trading all of the mole skin and the claws, crushing the nests and then selling the seeds I got out of them. I say for some reason because for being a boss you literally just have to chase around while playing melee, the GP outfit is fairly nice. Although truth be told, I did this with a twisted bow, so if you don't have a casual 1.1 billion laying around to buy this incredibly sought after weapon, you may not get as many kills per hour, but it's actually a good bunch of cash nevertheless. If you're looking to make money through Slayer in the most AFK and chill method possible, look no further than the Kraken. With this boss, all you need is 2 clicks per kill with a fishing explosive potion, and wait with auto retaliate on. With full Ancestral and a Sanguinesti staff, I was getting 79 kills per hour because it just dies so quickly. And due to the healing properties of the Sanguinesti staff, you can stay here almost indefinitely or until your inventory fills up. With this amount of kills, I got about 1.8 mil, and I got lucky with a Kraken Tentacle, which landed me an extra 500k for a total of 2.3 mil. But again, no uniques for this video. The Thermonuclear Smoke Devil is up next, and for such an easy but click-intensive boss, 72 kills per hour landed me a whopping 1.9 million GP. I was using the Redemption method with melee and Dragon Claws as you walk under it to take less damage. But if you want to try something else, you can almost use the same setup as a Kraken to freeze the Thermi, and then attack it from afar. Whether it be with a Trident or a Sanguinesti staff, charges for these weapons will lower GP per hour by a little bit, but the payout is pretty nice in comparison. We start the top 3 with the Money Snake. This is a boss I'm still learning as of the time of making this video, and with only a few KC of experience under my belt, not actually counting the 500 I killed for Leagues 3, I got to 23 kills per hour with the T-bow only method. With it, I was getting 2.37 mil GP per hour without any uniques, and if you want to get kills a lot quicker, bring your mage switches to attack the green and the red snakes in order to do some more damage. For me though, Twisted Bow did just fine. The runner-up spot belongs to the Alchemical Hydra. I absolutely love this boss because of how engaging it is, and also with a cheeky Twisted Bow, I was getting 24 kills per hour since I can get 8 kills per trip due to me keeping all of the bones. The Hydra has such great guaranteed drops that relying on uniques to make money is not really mandatory, but if you ever see items like the Hydra's Claw, the Hydra Leather, and maybe some dragon throwing knives, your bank will get a pretty decent boost. Also, if you ever get these on a Slayer task, never kill the small ones, and whatever items you have, go for the big boss. Last but definitely not least, we have my favorite boss and the one I have the highest KC at, being Vorkath. I honestly don't remember why I have so much KC nearing almost 2000, but I think money has something to do with it. I tested this with a near maxed melee setup, and with my Dragon Hunter Lance and Bando's Godsword, I was getting 27 kills per hour, which equal to 3.87 mil GP, again as of the time of making this video. A lot of people like camping it with ranged, which is slightly safer, but I find the melee damage a lot more consistent. Whatever method you use in terms of consistent GP per hour, not including uniques, Vorkath is by far the king of money making. Alright, up next we have a few bosses whose GP per hour will mostly rely on their unique drops, as their normal items provide almost barely enough in order to cover for your supplies. I don't really recommend you come here for consistent money making, but rather if you have a small team to camp it for many kills per hour to eventually see a big loot beam on the ground. The list starts with a Nightmare of Ashihama and honestly Fosani's Nightmare too. We would all love to see a piece of Inquisitor set or an orb on the ground, but without these items we are looking at about 10 kills per hour if you're lucky on this boss, and also in a mass world. For Fosanis though, if you don't have absolute maxed gear and the impeccable mechanics, kills per hour can drop to about 5, 6, 7, 8 depending on how good you are, and as of loot you can expect about 220k mostly on supplies. So be ready to waste a lot of potions and sharks on your way to some nice Inquisitor drops. A boss I recently learned was Kriara, and if you weren't on stream, I got an Armadillo hilt on KC number 4, which was great motivation to keep doing it. After getting used to the Chinchampa method, I got 16 kills in 1 hour, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the chances at some Armadillo pieces are very much worth it. Without uniques though, you're looking at about 300 KGP per hour, which isn't even enough to cover all of the Chinchampas you will use. Extremely important to note that all of the God Wars Dungeon bosses KCs are calculated with ecumenical keys. One God Wars Dungeon boss you may not need keys for because of how easily you can kill goblins is General Gerardor. At around 15 kills per hour you can expect somewhere about 400k without uniques, which may not sound like a lot, but overall it's slightly better than Armadillo. This hits like an absolute machine, so you will definitely need to use the walk under method if you're using melee. And if you do one of the fancy new Bofa methods, you can do a ton more kills per hour without banking, so get practicing on this one for some nice Bandos pieces. Up next we have the Corporeal Beast with the Dragon War Hammer, Arclight, and the Bandos God Sword method. You will spend most of your time speccing down this big boy, and once all of its stats are reduced, all you need to do is avoid the core and deal massive damage with your Zamorakian Spear. With the correct setup, you will barely use any supplies here, meaning that whatever you get out of your 5 or even 6 kills per hour, you will get solo and go straight to the bank, which in my case was about 500k. Going back to the God Wars dungeon, we have Krill Tusaroth. I always recommend doing this on a Greater Demon task for that extra bit of damage, and I also got about 15 kills per hour, which is the same as Grardor, but I didn't last this long mainly because this guy and his minions hit way harder, and I was just not able to stay for too long. For this boss, if you're looking for either a Zamorakian Spear or a Staff of the Dead, but without those uniques, you can expect about 500 KGP per hour, which again may cover supplies and maybe not much more. But again, you can use one of the fancy whatever 2-0 methods with a Twisted Bow or Bofa in order to get more kills and last longer. To finish off the God Wars dungeon, we have Commander Zeliana. Whether you're using a rune crossbow with a diamond bolt or even a twisted bow, just run around as you drain her health and then deal with the minions. This is obviously the easiest one to kill, and the only thing stopping me from getting a lot more KC per hour was the prayer potions. For my test I got about 18 kills per hour, which gave me 600 KGP, and just like Krill, we are looking for 2 special items here, being the Armadillo crossbow and the Zeradomin hilt. Starting out the top 3 we have Nex. Now, I calculated 30 kills per hour since mass worlds are still fairly popular, and the kill along with a respawn timer take about 2 minutes each. For those 30 kills, I got 950k out of a random assortment of items, most of which were supplies to stay here for longer. But that chance at some Torva pieces is very tempting for a boss like this. If you do it on small teams, let's say 3 to 6 people, kills will take a lot longer, but with one of those special items, your bank will have a huge boost. At number 2 we have the Theater of Blood, and I will break my own rule for the following 2 about consistent GP. The standard loot you get out of this place is nothing huge, but special drops here are slightly more common, which could lead to some nice gains. With a decent team you can get about 2 or even 3 completions per hour, but obviously requirements for this activity are way steeper than any method we have seen before. If you want to learn this with a random team in the respective world, there's a very low chance you will actually get a raid going. So for your first couple of KC, a learner team is very much mandatory. Finally, the king of moneymaking, which relies on unique drops to bring that GP per hour up to standards, we have the Chambers of Xeric. There are so many good items here that if you're raid on a small team and you hit the lottery, you will get an amazing split. With items such as the Twisted Bow, the Coda Insignia, Dragon Claws, Ancestral, and even the Dragon Hunter Crossbow, raids will be one of the most lucrative activities you can do in the late game. Last but not least, I want to quickly go over a few bosses I skipped because in my very personal opinion, they are either too dangerous or too useless to camp them for an extended period of time, unless you are looking for a specific drop. I will only give Venenatis an honorable mention because if you know how to safe spot it correctly, you can stay here for an obscene amount of time. And you are at level 25 Wilderness, which means that your Royal Seed Pod can get you out of trouble with 1 click. The average loot here is quite decent, and if you're looking for the pet or the dragon pickaxe, this spider is the way to go to make some extra cash. As for the other bosses, I will do a lightning round to explain why they may not be that enticing. Vedion and Callisto can be safe spotted, but the fact that they are just so far into the wilderness may not be the best idea to camp them for money unless you have balls of steel. The Crazy Archaeologist and the Chaos Fanatic are super easy to kill, but even with the Odium and Malediction Ward shards as possible drops, not a really big fan of their consistent items. Scorpia and the Chaos Elemental are even farther into the wilderness, and if you want to camp them for money, you may have a miserable time. If someone starts attacking you, it's pretty much over. Finally, for the wilderness, we have the KBD. This is a lot safer as this area isn't in the wilderness itself, but still, unless you're looking for the pet, these drops are not the best. Next we have the normal gauntlet, and you should only do this for the 1 KC requirement for the corrupted gauntlet, as well as getting used to the mechanics and practice for the harder version of this activity. Other than that, the loot here isn't really worth it, but just a safer way to get some unique drops. Last on the list we have the Deranged Archaeologist, and honestly, I have no idea why people kill this boss. It doesn't have any good drops, and it's just super boring to kill. I don't even know if there's a niche item for Ironman, but if you enjoy camping this boss, you're actually a little bit deranged just like him. Ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you very much for watching and also for making it this far. I want to give a massive thank you to all my channel members. You boys and girls are absolute legends, and your support goes a long way for this amazing project. If you want to support this channel even further, you can click the join button below to see all of the cool perks you can get out of your monetary pledge in the videos, in the live streams, and also in the Discord. In July, we will go over some of my favorite bosses as we will prepare up-to-date guides for all of them. I hope you are looking forward to that, but for now, have an amazing week, and I will see you then. Peace.